today I had a chat with Kahil from React International about their business and their T400 loader, which we recently purchased. The original video I recorded was over 50 minutes long, so I've cut out most of what I had to say and left Kahil there to take you through the essentials. Let's get on with it. We're here now today with Kahil from React International. He's come out to give us a bit of a talk through of his T400 loader that we've just bought. So Kahil, how'd you get into importing loaders and stuff?
Bit of a funny story, sort of. So the old man was farming at Streaky Bay on the Eyre Peninsula, or near Streaky Bay.
Yeah.
And then he went to China originally to sell his wheat. Over there, it's quite marginal country, and there's contracts and stuff like that you have to meet. So while he's over there, he sort of worked out pretty quickly that it was quite tricky to do that. And then his brother, who's also farming, and a couple neighbours said, while you're over there, see if you can find me a loader. So he started to take that a bit more seriously and spent months and months in China, looking at factories. They went through over 100 loader factories to try and find the right one. So in China, it's quite difficult. You probably notice it as well when you're looking at all these different loaders from China. They all look quite similar. But then it's not until you get a measuring tape out, measuring parts of the chassis, and looking at what sort of pumps they run in there, what engines, and then that's what he did. So he got his calipers and measuring tape and went through all these ones that all look the same, but and then found the one that we use today. So then from that point, we've spent a lot of time developing these products. So if you look at some of our first ones, they're very basic, probably similar running gear, but more sort of comforts in there. Better operation. Everything is on the joystick, so you're forward, neutral, and reverse, up gears and down gears.
Yeah, that's a nice feature, that one.
Yeah.
I'm never going back to the column shift.
Oh, I reckon we should take it out. But some old people like that column shift there, so
yeah,
we've kept it in for them. So I guess we started. The first machines came to our farm, and we pulled them out of the container, sort of in a very similar environment to this. Pretty quickly, the old man worked out he's probably going to have to back these up a bit and provide parts. And so then eventually moved to Adelaide and set up. We were sort of in a bare yard with not too much structural stuff around, and just stuff was just being stored in containers. And from that point went to a yard, which is pretty cool, having a proper shed. And now we're on Cavan Road. We've got 2,000 square metre shed, so we try and store all of our stuff inside, and just a huge range of parts. Pretty well everything for this machine we have on the shelf in Adelaide. It's a lot better than some of the name brands, particularly in headers. We found when we were farming, you could be waiting 2 or 3 weeks for a part coming from Sydney, and that's your time when you need your header. 1 or 2 weeks could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. So we try and prevent that with React, and make if you're down, we come there as soon as we can and try and have the best service we possibly can. So that's sort of where we're at now. And
how many of you reckon you've bought into Australia so far?
All products like loaders, forklifts, and weigh bridges, skid steers, probably around 600. And we've been going for about 6 years. So I think last year we sold 100 to 150 machines.
Yeah, nice. That's good.
And that's sort of all across Australia. We have machines in every state. We have a Cummins engine in here, and Cummins have come out and they've inspected it. So every single engine with a Cummins, every loader with a Cummins in it, has Cummins out, fully inspected, and then they take over the warranty of the engine. So that's 2 year, 2,000 hour. And even the main guy at Cummins said, this engine in this machine is barely being used to its potential. I guess like a generator would be one machine where it's getting worked very hard all the time at sort of very high RPM. Whereas in a loader, especially on a farm, you might be driving down through your paddock or doing a lot of material handling and stuff like that where it's really low RPM. So they get a really easy life in these machines, so it will last you forever. We do audits on everything on our factory, make sure that, check serial numbers with the like a Cummins dealership, make sure there's no we make sure that we're getting the right products and the right pumps, all the best quality stuff. So we spend quite a lot of money on all the components for this machine, just to make sure the quality's there. Because if we bring anything that's not right, we'll be the ones fixing it. Ruins our reputation, our name, which we can't have. So with this machine, we check literally every nut and bolt on the whole machine. Not the engine, that's Cummins, that's fine. But just making sure that nothing's going to come loose. We've even heard stories of, a guy told me the other day he had an $800,000 boom spray, and pretty well straight away hydraulic fitting came loose and he lost all his hydraulic oil. That's the sort of horror stories we don't want to see. So every hydraulic fitting's checked with a spanner and then marked, so you can see like all your markings over the whole machine. That's us in the workshop.
Can you run me through some of your favourite features if you got to go through? Like, what's the best part of it, you reckon?
We went through the automatic greaser before.
We did, yeah.
But yeah, obviously very easy to operate. Just as we said, up in here you've got the two dials to adjust your timing. But I particularly like you got a cabin filter in here for your aircon. That's a really good feature. I don't think that I probably can't mention brands, but some of the good utes don't even have that filter in there. So it is good, especially when you're in dry and dusty environments where a lot of dust is flying around. The aircon's good. No dust in your cab. Yeah, you can't beat that.
There's also, I should mention, we'll look at it in a sec. The aircon only has cold and super cold as the two options, but you did say there is a heater hose going up in there, and you can turn a tap and heat it up. So if you're doing some work in the winter time and you're worried about being cold, you do have a heater in there.
Yeah, that's right. So just here, this red little tap, if you ever want your heaters on, you just turn it around like that, and that allows the coolant to go through the little radiator in your aircon system. Yeah, and we come out, and anyone within the 10 hour radius will come out and exactly what we're doing here today. Run through the machine with you. Generally come out within a week or two of you getting it. It gives you enough time to have a bit of a play and work out any questions that you might have for us, and we can sort of iron everything out at that first handover, I guess.
The quick hitch here is super handy. You never get out your cab anymore.
Yeah. So at the start, this will always wear off, but when it's new, when you're still learning, this here pin we've painted yellow. That's so when you're in the cab, when you articulate the machine a little bit, you can actually see these pins. So you don't actually have to get out at all, which is really, really cool. We do recommend every now and again just putting a bit of grease on those pins. If you have it out for maybe a year and you're just raising rubble for that whole time or in a rubble pit, they can get a bit stuck in that. You can always get them out. You've just got to get the hammer out. But if you keep lube up to it, maybe once every 3 to 6 months, just when you remember it, depending on what sort of work you're doing, you'll never have any issues there. So we've got a pretty big range of attachments. For the third function, the 4-in-1, as you said previously, we've got log grabs, rake grapples, tiptoe buckets. That's a pretty popular attachment.
In this clip here, we're talking about how good the lights are on this machine. So we've got those driving lights on the front there, as well as light bars on the front and back, and also little LED spotlights that face around the turn as your machine turns in its articulated motion.
Probably the only part you have to grease on the whole machine is the uni shaft.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're looking at them. They're the only things that cannot have, obviously for obvious reasons, cannot have auto greases on them, because they would get wrapped up naturally. And all your uni joints.
Yeah, we haven't worked out a way to put pipes on there yet.
No, maybe one day.
Yeah, we will see. But for now, only thing you have to grease on the machine. Yeah. And we recommend doing that every 25 hours. We do it at every service though. Yeah. But yeah, for the for longevity of the uni shafts, just every 25 hours, 3 or 4 pumps. You can sort of tell when it gets a bit full. Yeah. So in here, you'll save your transmission dipstick. So to get the right level of that, you have to have the machine running and then go for a little drive for about maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes. So what that does is basically you've got a transmission cooler on the machine. So when it's off, all the oil from the transcooler pipes run back into the bottom of the trans. So it'll give you a false reading if you check it when it's cold. So it'll probably come up, way past the point it needs to be. So if you want to check it, start it up, go for a drive around, pull up, leave it running.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then I pull it out and then give it a wipe, let it sit, let it all sort of get back to level, and then dip it then with the machine running, and then you'll get your level, and there's a mark there where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's how you get the correct reading for that.
And all your oils you need to use and stuff like that, you'd have all listed on your you'd be able to get it from you guys if you need to top it up for some reason.
Yeah, that's right. And it's all your standard oils. So it's 10W30 transmission oil, hydraulic 68 for your hydraulics. Gear oil is just your 80W90, and engine oil is just your standard 15W40. So in the cab, basically you've got all your gauges here on the steering column. So your MPA, this one here is your brake air pressure. I didn't show that tank before, but that's pretty well just under the driver's side or the driver's door step. You just have a little air tank there, I guess.
I did see that one there, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll show you that one in a minute. But then also back over here, when the engine's running, you've got your RPM going across here. Obviously your hours, engine hours, battery voltage, engine oil pressure, and then your coolant temperature here. So the batteries, that's a 24 volt system through the machine. Just got to keep that in mind if you do get any sort of aftermarket stereo or the UHF. So this one here is either a 24 volt UHF or it has an inverter, getting it back to the 12 volts. And then also back here you've just got your transmission pressure. And as long as that's between the 1 and the 2, that will bounce around just a little bit. That's more so when you're changing gears or going from forward to reverse. Or if you're revving it quite high, it'll have more pressure. So then back on your steering column, you've just got your hazards, windscreen wipers, and another set of windscreen wipers. And you also have the water,
Which I haven't filled up yet.
which is just down there.
Yeah.
And then these here are your working lights up on your roof.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, first click is your front lights, second click is your front and rear. And then you can turn them off. If you're driving down the road, you've got your headlights here, which are kind of like your car if you're high beam.
They're those guys down the front there.
Yeah, that's
Down
right.
there. Yeah.
So your high beam, low beam, and indicators, very similar to a car. So
Yeah.
you should have that under control. So we have a set of fuses on your steering column just behind this little cover. And then there's also fuses and relays just here underneath this cover.
You said all the fuses in that box there are related to all the controls on this stick here.
Yeah, around this area, and then the ones on the steering column are directly related to all the stuff on the steering column, which makes it a little bit easier. And then if we run through the switches here on the console, so this one here is your flashing light on your roof, so you can have that on or off. The gear switch, so that basically at the minute forward, neutral, reverse is currently here, so I'll take this park brake off. Forward, neutral and reverse with up gears and down gears. So when I flick this gear switch, it actually isolates it from here and moves it all to this here lever on the steering column. So you can actually see up on the dash how it goes forward, and you can run through your gears just like that, and then reverse as well. And it won't actually work over here. So you can see I've got it in forwards now, and it's in neutral. That's because the gear switch has been engaged and it has completely isolated it from the joystick. So if you ever jump in the cab and it's not working here, someone else has jumped in it and they've flicked this switch on you. So just flick it back, and yeah, it's good as gold. You can go back to your joystick operation. So that's the gear switch. The next one is a float switch. That one there is used for your quick hitch, which we have on this little sheet here. we've made it a little bit of a process to do it so you can't accidentally pull your pins in. If your pins do come in and you're, say, tipping dirt into or tipping dirt at all out of your bucket, it can come out and your bucket can completely fall off the loader. And then float switch has two functions. It also does float. So how it's operated is you push the lever all the way forward and it locks in. So that actually locked in there. So when it's in this position, basically on your arms, it releases all the pressure out of your two lifting hydraulic cylinders. So basically, main use of it would be for backblading with your standard bucket. So you crowd forward and then put it in float, and then all you have is the weight of the bucket and the arms on the ground. So when you're going over a rough surface, like reversing, the bucket follows the contour of the ground and doesn't actually dig in. So this is really handy if you're doing like a shed pad or trying to get that very smooth finish. So no, it's a really, really handy feature. It won't work if you see here, when I flick the switch, it will not engage. So if you ever try and use it, make sure you have the float switch on and then you can lock it in. So the next switch here is the two cogs. So that there is kind of like a clutch brake. So when I engage it and have it in forwards, and then when I put my foot on the brake, it throws it into neutral here on the screen. So what that does is, if you wanted to speed up your hydraulics, say you've just gone to your pile and you want to lift it up and then dump it right there, or if your truck's very close, you can actually put your foot on the brake and the accelerator, and then you can speed up your hydraulics without putting any strain on your transmission. That's only good for certain things that you're doing, certain operations. But then sometimes it's, you might not want it on there. It can be a little bit harder to inch forward very slightly if you're doing hay on your truck. So you can just turn that one off, and then now you can see it will not do it. It will stay in gear the whole time, no matter what I do with the brake. So that's all up to like personal, like whatever you want to do individually. So, and then also here your DS power. I'm not sure why it says DS power, but that is your automatic level switch. So with that, you have automatic level and automatic height. It's a very similar operation to your float function. So with the level, basically after you dump your bucket, you can then crowd back and lock it in. And then when it's crowd like that, it'll go until it gets to level, and then this here will just come back to central position. When you're doing it properly, you can it'll come out and then you can catch it with your hand so it doesn't
Jiggle backwards and forwards.
And you can pull it out and you won't do any damage. So it's just held there by magnets, so you're not going to do any damage if you pull that out. Do that all day and it won't wreck anything.
That's news to me, because I was driving the first and didn't know this DS power button. I thought, we need more power, let's hit the power button. And then I thought, why my stick's gotten stuck. So now I know why I got stuck. It's actually just caught in a magnet, and
yeah,
all to do with the auto level.
That's right, and height as well. Very similar function. But yeah, you can mess around with the settings of that. So it's just electromagnetic sensors. So they're both on adjustments. So if you want to fine tune it, or if you make up your own attachment that you need it to be level for, you can go ahead and mess around with that. And then the final thing here is your park brake. With this, we've installed a what do you call it, like a buzzer, which is that there.
Saves you flogging your brakes out. Yeah. Very annoying, you can't ignore it.
Oh, definitely. And it won't actually select a gear with that park brake on. Yeah, so we've done that. The very first few loaders, I reckon every time we've went to them, we've had to replace the park brake pads.
Yeah, right, because people drive with them on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the actual the gear wiring goes through that switch then. The power for gear selection goes through your park brake switch as well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, very handy. You'll never go through your park brake. It's not usually the main person who's driving it who does it. It's usually when someone else jumps in and, doesn't really know the loader too well. But in saying that, you don't have to worry about it anyway. Yeah. Good. Then the final thing is probably my favourite feature on the whole machine. That's this soft ride switch here.
Yes.
So that there is an optional extra, but I highly recommend it. And
it shouldn't be optional.
Tell you.
Yeah. Tell us how it works. What does it do?
So basically, it's an accumulator that hooks up to your lifting rams in your arms. And when you're driving along in a loader, if you've ever driven one before, you start to get a forward and back rock, and then it slowly just gets worse and worse, and then you've either got to slow down or try and power through it. If you're doing any sort of traveling, whether it's just through your farm, even if you're going like 5 or 10 Ks, you're going to get that rock, and you're sort of limited to about 20, 25 K an hour. The top speed of this machine is about 40 or 39 K an hour. So, with this switch, it just completely eliminates that rock. It might be hard to believe, but I'm sure Harrison will explain to you, someone who's driven it and on the farm.
It's considered an optional extra, but it's really not optional.
Yeah, I don't
get it.
Yeah, literally. It's the best thing you could ever get on a loader. Just makes it 10 times more comfortable driving up the road, especially if you have like a sore back or something. You don't really want to be thrown around in the machine. So for the sake of this thing here, just put it in. You're gonna have it forever. So
yeah.
I
flick it on I have it on more than I have it off, and until I'm actually going to lift or do something, I pretty much just always have it on. I wish it was on the joystick so I could flick it on and off more like easily, because I even cruise around this yard here, like you got little tiny like stones and the ground's not perfectly flat and you got some ruts in the ground there. You go over these, you feel every single bump, but you flick the soft ride on and she's smooth as butter getting around it.
Like you said before, it goes from a machine with no suspension to having suspension.
Yeah.
So hopefully that puts it in perspective for people watching. So.
And naturally a machine like this can't have suspension because you got to lift a heavy thing, so the wheels are directly bolted onto its axles, and there's never going to be any suspension other than what you've got in your seat. And then having the soft ride on your lifting arms just means that your lifting arms become part of the suspension, and you'll watch it as you're driving. The bucket just bounces up and down, taking all the shocks out of everything.
Yeah, it turns the two cylinders into shock absorbers, basically.
Yeah.
And then speaking about the seat, it is a mechanical seat, and you've just got adjustment on this lever here, so you can loosen it or tighten it, and it has the kilograms just here as well. Depending on personal weights, I'm quite light, so whenever I do servicing and do the warm-up, I can bounce, the seat can be very bouncy, I don't touch other people's seats, but if it was my machine, I'd be adjusting that thing straight away, making it more comfortable for you.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we do have there is an air seat option, but that is Australian. We buy it in Australia. We can either put you onto that company or we can get it and install it as well, but they're not very cheap though. That's the other side of it.
Yeah. But I'd say it's pretty comfy. It's probably comfier than most of the tractor seats I've sat in. Like, it's quite a good seat straight from the factory. I got no issues with it.
Yeah, no,
we're quite good.
Pretty happy with it as well. Yeah, but no, that's pretty much everything in the cab. All the main stuff. You just got a isolator switch.
Oh yeah, that got me at the start trying to back it out. See back there.
Right down the bottom near the floor. A lot of machines have it out by the battery box or somewhere, and you jump in, you turn the key, isolator switches off, so you get out, flick it on. It's a bit of a pain, so at least here it's right in the cab, so if it's not on, you just reach down, flick it off and on. Really simple. So you have a reversing camera here. Might not come on. The bonnet's up at the minute, but
oh yeah, so you're looking straight at the dirt there, but you got really good vision behind you.
Yeah, so that's quite handy as well. It's a reversing camera. It's like when you get a car with a reversing camera for the first time, you think you're not going to use it, but then after about a couple of weeks, you wouldn't get a car without it. So yeah, very handy feature. So you've got really good access to clean out your radiator. Basically with these, we've spent a lot of time on the cooling system for these 400s, and a lot of radiators will have a piggyback radiator for that transmission cooler. That might be fine if you're just in dirt, but for like farming environments, you could get like chaff and hay and all the stuff that floats around, and it gets stuck between there, and you can never get it properly clean. So what we've done, you can see a weld just here. On the left side of that is actually a transmission cooler, and the right side is all your coolant. So it makes it really easy to clean. So you just get your, your hose for your air compressor, And you just blow it straight back towards the engine, and then obviously, yeah, clean off your engine as well. And you know, if you do that, this machine will never get hot. And yeah, we've got machines in some pretty horrible conditions. Yeah, I'm really happy with how we've got this system. Yeah.
Well done. Thanks for coming out today and showing me through it. I've only had the loader for about a week now, so it's like you said, within the first week or two, you come out and have a little visit. But yeah, appreciate you coming out. You dropped off a stick rake for us today, so I'm pretty keen to go and use that. We've got a small bit of shrubbery to move when we're going to plant a new orchard there, so it's going to get some work hopefully middle of next year. But I've got some sticks I got to push up around the yard, so I'll get some footage of that very soon. That'll be wicked.
Yeah, no, awesome, man. Yeah, like I said before, if you're ever in Adelaide, always welcome to call in. You know, check it out, grab a coffee. You know, if it's after 5, have a beer or something. Like, yeah, we're always happy to have you around.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Kahil. See you next time.
No worries. Cheers.